I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's live edition. It's Tuesday, the 25th of February. Back from taking a few days off. Been working on Federal Jack, getting some stuff done. In fact, I'm going to update you all as to what's up before we even get into anything tonight. And I'm going to get into a few things tonight. But first, I want to tell you about what I've been up to. So, due to the large requests, the large amount of requests, I should say, for T-shirts, because I had a bunch of Federal Jack T-shirts. I had about 10 or 15 of them left, and about 6 months ago, I had done a giveaway on air, and I, mailed them out, and I had a few left that when I brought with me to the 50th anniversary of JFK's assassination, I gave them out. So I don't have any more, and everybody's been bugging me since November to get new ones. But I wanted to redo the graphic, and I wanted to advertise the radio show on the T-shirt as well, because the old version didn't have the radio show on it. It only had Federal Jack. It didn't have any advertisement about Down the Rabbit Hole. So I wanted to redo it, so I spent some time working on it, redoing the graphics. And if you go to federaljack.com right now, you will see on the front page there is an animated GIF flashing with T-shirts, or under the store tab in the header, you will see that the T-shirts are now available. They're available in two colors, multiple sizes, ranging from small to triple XL. I went up to that size because, believe it or not, I had people requesting. They emailed me and said, hey, is it possible to get shirts bigger? I had it going up to double XL, but I added one size. They're a little bit more. They're $25 as opposed to $20, like the other shirts are, because more material, and that's what the T-shirt guy has to charge more for the bigger shirts, so it's not my fault. I just have to do what I have to do. Anyway, the cost includes shipping. There's no extra cost. So it's normally anything under triple XL is $20, includes shipping, and while supplies last, I throw in a Truth Frequency radio bumper sticker, and I have a couple copies of Wake Up Call left. It's a documentary about what's going on. I'll throw that in there, and some Federal Jack business cards and flyers and stuff. So if I have almost the amount of pre-orders I need, because right now I'm doing pre-orders, because I haven't had the shirts done yet. I talked to the printer already. And I'm doing pre-orders. That way I know I have enough of an interest. And I put out on Facebook the other day, on Facebook alone, I put out a a question. Would anybody be interested in a new batch of shirts? Because I had gotten so many emails, so I wanted to see what the Facebook crowd would have to say. Well, I had like 50 responses to that between the comments and the messages I got. Same thing on Twitter. I put it out there, and I had people responding back to me. So because I had so many requests for new shirts or a new batch of shirts because we ran out, and people saw the older ones, and I've actually gotten emails from listeners telling me they saw somebody in town wearing a Federal Jack shirt. They've seen homemade Federal Jack stickers up, homemade Down the Rabbit Hole stickers. So I figured it was time to do a T-shirt. So new T-shirts for the radio show and the website are available over at federaljack.com. Again, right on the front, there's a widget. And up in the header there, where under the store tab, just click on it, and you'll see T-shirts. And then when you open the page, you'll see mock-ups of what the T-shirts will look like in black or OD green. They're available in 2 colors, black or OD green. So go take a look, and you can order if you're from outside the United States, because I've already had to fill a couple of these orders. If you're from outside the United States, please email me. The email is right on the page there, but you can email me at contactdtrh@yahoo.com. That's the full word spelled out, contactdtrh@yahoo.com. And I will give you a quote. You have to give me a mailing address, and I will give you a quote on how much it is to mail it, because international mailing's a bit more expensive, and depending on where you are is, changes how much it is. So I can get a quote from the post office, because that's how I send it. It's the cheapest way. It's insured and everything else, tracking, but I'll get a quote, and we can go from there. If you prefer to use somebody else other than the post office, which I've had people ask me to use FedEx and stuff, shipping internationally, I don't have a problem doing it, but it's going to cost you an arm and a leg shipping, because FedEx is like that. But I'll get the quotes no matter what and do it. So just email me. And remember, if it takes me a day to get back to you, just give me a day or two, because I do all of this myself: order processing, packaging, order fulfillment, design of the T-shirts, all of it. So I guess having insomnia sometimes helps. Anyway, so new Federal Jack / Down the Rabbit Hole T-shirts available for you all due to the large request. They're available over on federaljack.com. Check them out. Don't forget, I also have Judith Ferry Baker's book over there as well, and I have a limited amount of those left. I have just a little more than a box left. I've been selling them pretty steady. So, okay, enough with all that. Let's get into tonight's broadcast. There's a bunch of things I want to go over. One of them being the division in this country on so many levels. Another part of that division, which is going to branch off into for a few minutes, is the alternative media and what it's becoming, at least what my analysis of what I see it becoming. And as a broadcaster, a researcher, and just, a free individual, I think it's important that I tell you how I feel about what's going on. Doesn't mean you have to appreciate it, believe it, take it to heart, whatever. I'm sure some of what I'm going to say is going to piss people off. I'm not going to attack any hosts or anything like that. I'm just going to give you my analysis of what I see. It's part of the whole division of this country. It's part of the whole plan, right? Anyway, I'm going to get into that, and I want to talk about the epidemic of police brutality that we see going on. This ramping up of it. In fact, I'm going to pick up there first before I do anything. I want to pick up with that, because to me that's one of the most important things. And one of the cases I want to bring up is a case I'm sure you're all aware of. As I said last week, I took a couple of days off, so I didn't have an opportunity to discuss this, but there was a 17-year-old young man that was shot and killed last week because he had a Wii remote in his hands. His parents buried him, I think this past weekend, if I remember correctly. And it's pretty brutal. I mean, 17, he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't point a gun at an officer, although they say he did. he had a Wii remote control in his hand, and he was in his own house, by the way. He wasn't running around the streets. Oh, yeah, the kid should have been running around the streets at 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, it wasn't 3 o'clock in the morning. It was in the evening. They came to his house, knocked on the door. The kid was sitting down to watch a movie. He had the Wii remote in his hand. He said, "Who's there?" Nobody said anything. Well done, police. Don't bother to announce yourselves and say, "Hey, it's the police." Well, that would give up our cover. Really? Cover? I mean, you're only there with flashy cars with big flashy lights on outside. It's not like you floated in invisibly. Wonder Woman didn't fly you in the invisible jet. But yeah, don't bother to answer, because that might actually de-escalate the situation. Anyway. So, they knock on the door. He says, "Who's there?" No answer. He gets up and opens the door, and as soon as he opens the door, he's immediately shot in the chest, where he falls to the ground. His little sister runs over to comfort him and to talk to him and try to, tell him it's going to be okay. And the female cop that shot the 17-year-old boy in the chest proceeds to enter the house and point the gun at the girl and tell her to get away from him. And then the boy died within 30 seconds to a minute, I guess, around there. In his own house. All for answering the door with a Wii remote in his hand. And the female police officer involved in the shooting said, and of course this is what the police department is saying, well, he answered the door with a gun. Now, why would a 17-year-old kid answer the door with a gun? This kid wasn't like a gangbanger. He wasn't involved in, I don't know, a terrorist organization, Al-Qaeda, the militia. He wasn't evil. He was a 17-year-old kid. In fact, he was, they had these like explorer cadet programs and stuff with the police. He was part of that. He wanted to be a Marine. He couldn't wait to turn 18 so he could join the Marines. It's all he talked about for years. The kid he's always helping people out in the community. He was well-liked, never in trouble with the law, never in trouble. I'm sure he did stupid kid things once in a while. We all did, and we all do, even as adults. But I'm sure he did something stupid once in a while. Maybe he did something like a dumb kid thing here or there, but never like something you would expect for a 17-year-old boy to get shot in the chest and killed for. Yet this 17-year-old boy got shot in the chest and killed by an overzealous cop. And of course, they're going to say, well, it's justified because, he answered the door with a gun in his hand. Did you find a gun? Well, no. And of course, they're saying, well, he answered the door with a BB gun. But did you recover a gun from the scene where the kid had it in his hand or it was laying within a foot or two from him where the body was? I mean, they could have recovered a BB gun from inside the house, maybe inside the kid's bedroom, but that doesn't, of course they could just move it and say, look, we found it in his hand at the scene. But witnesses, everybody that was, family, anybody that witnessed it said he was holding a Wii remote controller. But they shot him anyway. Because these cops are constantly amped up on fear. They went to the door. Here's the thing. The female officer had her gun out and already drawn at the door when they opened the door. Because they were there on a probation violation warrant. But it wasn't for that kid. And why are you already escalating the situation to the point where you're knocking on the door with your gun drawn already? Get on the ground. Why do you got to escalate the situation? Why can't you knock on the door and say, look, man, I hate to do this, but we got to bring you in. Let's get this cleared up and get you back out. Why can't you talk to them like they're normal humans? Nope. 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 Went to the door with a gun drawn already. So already we've escalated force. I know the cops have a nifty little term for it. The escalation threshold, or it's not that threshold. What the hell is it called? It's something. I forget what the hell it's called, but it's like a chart for levels of escalation, basically. And I mean, they just went like full on. They're not even tasers. What's the point of having a taser? I thought that was the less than lethal option. Yeah, cops use tasers if you tell them to kiss your ass. Like a torture pain compliance device, which, by the way, the Supreme Court said they could do. Okay, yeah, thanks, Supreme Court. And then you have them using their weapons in the cases of when they should be using a taser, when maybe the taser would be warranted because maybe someone's out of control or something, but you could get them under control to, at least the taser is a more viable option to get them under control as long as somebody doesn't, allow them to hit their face into the concrete or whatnot. But if you can somehow subdue them with it, and it saves them or from more physical harm, maybe getting shot by you guys, okay, I can understand that. But that's gone. Like, they tase you for breathing in the wrong direction and then shoot you for things that maybe would have required tasing, if that. But in this case, there was nothing required at all of this young lad. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. I'm going to play a piece of audio from one of the local TV stations talking about the incident really quick, and then I'm going to give you my analysis of it. Here we go.
The family of a 17-year-old shot and killed by a U Harley police officer has hired an attorney, and they say that he had a remote control in his hand, not a gun. Channel 2's Craig Lucy joins us live from GBI headquarters in DeKalb County, where they say when their investigation's complete, they'll hand over the evidence to the DA. Greg?
Justin, the GBI is not commenting on this case, but the U Harley Police Department says that this teen pointed a gun directly at this officer. The family attorney says it was not a gun, and that attorney says he would like to have seen them process some more evidence at the scene. 17-year-old Christopher Roop was in the ROTC at Woodland High School and wanted to join the Marines. His friends say he looked after them.
He was a good kid. He always hung out with me, and he took up for me.
Roop's young life ended Friday night when U Harley police officers showed up at the door of this home in the Eagle View Mobile Home Park to serve a probation violation warrant for his father. A female police officer told GBI investigators that Christopher Roop pointed a gun at her when he opened the door.
Just doesn't add up.
An attorney representing the Roop says that's not what the family says happened.
We don't know where that statement came from.
Cole Law says Christopher Roop was about to watch a movie.
The eyewitnesses on the scene clearly state he had a Wii controller in his hand. He heard a knock at the door. He asked who it was. There was no response. So he opened the door, and immediately upon opening the door was shot in the chest.
Neighbors ran to the home after they heard the gunshot.
When we got up there, they said that it was a Wii remote in his hand, and she shot him.
This is tragic. Neighbor Ken Yates says he saw the female officer moments after the fatal shot.
She came out of this house, she put her head in her hands, and she was sobbing. But supposedly he opened the door with a BB gun. And, in my opinion, I think he was playing a game with his neighborhood buddies.
I did try to ask the GBI if a BB gun was involved, and they said that they could not comment on any evidence. And this is evidence that will now be turned over to the district attorney's office in about a month. They did say that an autopsy has been conducted, and the family is now planning a funeral on Friday. Live at GBI headquarters, Craig Lucy, Channel 2 Action News, Night Beat.
Now, first of all, if this kid had a gun in his hand, don't you think immediately they would be showing the gun on news? They would be holding it up. Well, they can't. It's in the middle of an investigation. Believe me, they would at least be saying in a statement something to the effect that the kid, there's definite evidence that the kid was armed. It's an unfortunate situation, but the young man was armed. You would see that. Go back and look in other cases. They've come out and said things like that. In this case, we can't comment on it. Let me explain to you, the layman, what we can't comment on it means, just in case you don't get it. It means we're covering our asses. That's what it means. And that's what they're going to do. You know one of the biggest problems in this country with police brutality is? The police unions. Ooh, I'm going to piss off some of my listeners, because I know some of you guys are cops. I have I don't know if it's a large contingent, but I have a rather decent size, actually, listenership comprised of police officers and like sheriffs and law enforcement. I get emails from guys. Some of them could be shills, but some of the ones, at least the ones that have been open and honest about who they are, they're good officers. They've at least from what I can tell. I've never been on the beat with them, so I guess I can't tell 100%, right? But I have no reason to disbelieve, for the most part, a lot of these good individuals. I'm not attacking you guys when I talk about this stuff. One of my best friends is actually a sheriff's officer in another state. And we were stationed together in the Guard. And he's one of my closest friends. And I talk to him every once in a while, but he's like a brother to me. He's a sheriff's officer. I have no issues with what he does because he's one of the good guys. He's not one of these guys that will fall in and violate people's rights. He's one of these sheriff's officers that if somebody actually had a run-in with him and they did videotape it, it would be one of those that went viral because it was a good run-in, which you often don't see anymore. But I'm not attacking you guys, okay? All the good police officers and stuff, I'm not attacking you guys. But I am going after the bad guys. I am talking crap about all of you pussy thugs out there that hide behind your badge and your gun and your ticket book. Let me tell you something. I had it out with a cop when I was younger, when I was a firefighter. He had a problem with my brother. It's a long story. I'm not even going to get into it. Point is, he showed up at my firehouse trying to act all tough in his cop car, and he called me outside, and he got up in my face. And the first question I asked him, I said, hold up. I put my hand up in his face. I said, Art, and I called him by his first name because I knew his first name. I wasn't going to call him Officer so-and-so. But I asked him, I said, are you on the clock right now? Are you here threatening me on the clock? Because I pay your salary. It's exactly what I said to him. And he looked at me and he got all pissed off and he said, no, I'm off duty. I said, good. Take your badge, your ticket book, and your gun off and put them in your car. We can go out back and settle this like men. And he looked at me like he couldn't believe I just said it to him. He goes, I'm a police officer. Blah, 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 blah. I'll kick your ass and I'll lock you up and blah, 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 blah. And I said to him, you're not on duty right now. So technically, you're violating law and you're violating policy, because I knew a few things. You're violating policy using a town police car and your uniform and your badge to come and intimidate me over a personal matter. However, if you take all that crap off, you can leave your uniform on. Just take the badge off, the gun, and the ticket book, and your little bat belt. Let's go out back. We'll settle it mano a mano. If you kick my ass, you kick my ass. But I guarantee you that's not going to happen. He wouldn't do it. And he got all pissed off because I wouldn't bow down to his authority, and I wasn't afraid of him. And he got in his little cop car, and he sped off. And you know what happened? I called his duty sergeant, and I told the whole situation to his duty sergeant. Guess who had crappy duty for like the next year and never came near me again and learned? Because his paycheck got threatened and because I wasn't intimidated by his power. Should I have had to even go that far with this guy? No. Should we allow these types of individuals to be in that position? No. Should we maybe strive to put better individuals in these positions and hold them to a higher standard? Yes. Should we take on the police unions because perhaps maybe they've become too powerful? Should the citizens take them on? And don't fall for the propaganda, okay? Let me tell you something. If you go out and do the research yourself, because people are going to hear this live, they're going to hear it rebroad, they're going to hear it in the archives, go out and do the research yourself, okay? Look it up. Look it up. Being a police officer is not the most dangerous job out there. It is not. Actually, driving a tow truck is more dangerous than being a police officer. Did you know that? Being a tow truck operator is 10 times more dangerous than being a cop. Look it up. There's studies out there. There was just a study released not too long ago. I saw that it was a study on the most dangerous jobs out there in America today. And being a police officer wasn't even in the top 10. Not even in the top 10. So there's way more dangerous jobs out there that people do every day. Yet there's no justification if they kill somebody. They can't get away with it. So how come these people can get away with it? Because we allow it. We allow it. All of us, the civilians, and, well, the police are civilians too. They're not military. But the regular citizens, I should say, the people, the non-police, And the good cops. You guys allow it too. By not saying anything. And there have been good cops that do say stuff and they get railroaded out. That's where the citizens have to come back and be able to take things over. Get rid of the corrupt individuals and put people in there that won't hire people with an IQ lower than 100. That's the standard for police now in many places. Look it up. News reports showing this. One instance, a police chief said, well, because anybody with a higher IQ, we had a higher turnover rate when they had a higher IQ. And he said, of course, it's the repetition of the job. Really? You don't think it has anything to do with the fact that maybe they sat around and thought about what they were doing and said, wow, I don't want to be a scumbag anymore because I have, enough brains in my head to question orders, and I actually look at myself because I have some self-respect. I look at myself in the mirror and said, I can't do this anymore. They don't want that. They don't want people to question their orders. They don't want you to question what you're told to do. They just want you to do it. Don't ask. Just do what I tell you to do, damn it. Don't you understand that? So they hire dumber people. Want to fix the problem? It's not the end-all be-all fix, but one of the fixes would be to hold them to a higher standard. Start hiring better people for the job. We'll be right back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. That 17-year-old kid. Now, I don't know if this is still good, but that 17-year-old kid that was killed, I wanted to mention this before I forget. There is a GoFundMe page. Now, 2 days ago, the lady that has been running it posted that today is the last day that she'd have it open, but I see that people have still been posting donations as of at least 11 hours ago. And there is a contact button on there for Facebook, for the Facebook page that they have set up for this, and I guess you can contact via email the lady that set up the GoFundMe page directly, which I urge you to do if you can and if you want to help out. But this young man's family isn't very well off. They're not rich, and funeral expenses usually cost a couple $1,000s. I know from burying my mother, it cost me about $5,000 when she passed away. So burying somebody's coming into this world and going out are two pretty big expenses, not including everything in between. And this young man's family is not rich by any means. So if anybody out there wants to help this young lad, I'll drop the link in the chat room. But if you go, I'll drop it in the chat. But I guess if you go to GoFundMe, that's one way to just go to GoFundMe.com and then look up funeral expenses / Christopher Roop, R-O-U-P-E. Or maybe you can even Google funeral expenses / Christopher Roop or funeral expenses for Christopher Roop or Start Page or whatever search engine of your choice. It really doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm not going to name them all. Use however you want to search the internets, the interwebs, as the hackers call them. However you want to search the net. You'll see the link for GoFundMe, funeral expenses, Christopher Roop. If you can get to the page, and again, I'll drop it right now in the chat room as I'm talking to you all. Hold on, I'll go right there right now for the chatters. There you go, everybody, in there. If you go to the GoFundMe page, help this kid's family out. They need like $5,000 to bury him. And they've raised a little bit over 1,000, about 1,065 according to this right now. A little bit, close to 1,100. Let's see if we can help this family at least bury their son. And I don't know how much money they were able to raise. I don't know if they need any more donations, but you can either donate through the page, and if it doesn't work, then hit the email contact button and at least contact them and say, hey, look, I'd like to help. I'd like to donate a couple bucks for the funeral expenses of Christopher Roop. How can I do so? I understand that your thing says that this ended 2 days ago, but I'd still like to help out. give. Okay, I never ask you guys to really give to me. Once in a while, like I say, hey, I'm selling T-shirts with a book. I don't really like to ever ask for donations, right? But for this kid, for other people, I have no issues doing it. So try to help this family out. I mean, this is it's a horrific thing as it is, the situations we're dealing with, that a family member was shot. To top it off, he's a 17-year-old boy. To top it off, he was shot by a police officer, and then they're lying about it. So, I mean, they have already enough pressure on their head. Let's give them a little bit of leverage with the funeral expenses, if we can. And, anybody in the local area, look this kid up. Okay, again, his name is Christopher Roop. Look him up. Look up his story. If you live in the area where he is, and I don't remember offhand right now, it might be in Atlanta, or around Georgia. I think it was in Georgia, but I could be wrong. But if I remember correctly, it was in Georgia. Anyway, check out where he's from, and if you're in the area, help out. If you're close to where the family is, maybe go knock on the family's door and just say, hey, look, you ever need anything, whatever. Maybe bring them a cheesecake or something. I don't know. I know people bring food when they're, to families that are, recently lost loved ones, or even months later. I mean, when my mother died, I had people coming in for months. Her friends would bring me over a cheesecake here or there, or a pie. Oh, here, this will make you feel better. Thank you. I couldn't eat all of it, but the point was, they reached out, and whether or not I ate the food or not really wasn't important. It was nice to know that there were people out there that actually gave a crap. Okay, and in a situation like this, I mean, I can only imagine what they're going through. To lose a child at the hands of an idiot, who's just overzealous and shouldn't be on the police force. And there's a site called Filming Cops, by the way. They have an article about her. If you look up this story, try to find this article on Filming Cops. I don't have it open right now, but I read it yesterday. Apparently, the mental stability of this police officer has come into question before this whole shooting, because of posts and stuff that she's put on Facebook, and apparently she's on some sort of medication. So now there's a question of or at least there's the possibility of the question of whether or not she should have even been out there with a gun in her hands. I mean, they want to take away your gun rights in many states if you take medications, or if you have ever been diagnosed, we'll say, with a certain disorders, or certain, I hate that word, certain diagnoses, we'll say, diagnoses, however you pronounce the friggin' word, and they want to take your guns away for that. But then now you have a situation where possibly the officer involved in the killing of a 17-year-old child might have been on some sort of medication, or might have had some sort of mental health issue, or mental health, I don't want to say problem, but dealing with some sort of mental health issue at the time. And there's pictures of Facebook posts or whatever. Apparently they they took her picture off of the police department website rather fast, but she's still employed there. But I guess they took her picture off of the website. They probably had their webmaster do it ASAP. But just a lot of questions with this case. And again, it shows a lot that this is a smaller example, micro, macro, of a much larger problem. These cops are all amped up on fear. They're coming to the door, freaked out. I've got to get home tonight. It's going to be you before it's me. And immediately you breathe in the wrong direction, and the cop, yes, guys, I understand there are bad guys out there. There really are. No doubt there are pieces of garbage that you have to deal with during the course of your job, okay? But not everybody you deal with is garbage. That's the difference. And you, as officers, have to understand that, okay? And the reason I'm addressing this isn't to create a divide. It's actually to try to heal the divide. Because part of what I see, and this is why the media does talk about this stuff. See, the media, it's amazing. A lot of people will say, well, the media doesn't talk about police brutality cases. But they actually do talk about police brutality cases. Not all of them, and not maybe perhaps in the way they should, but they do talk about them. And the reason why they give them a certain amount of coverage is because they know that eventually you're going to see you're going to see it. You are going to sit there and you're going to watch their quote-unquote news broadcast. I say that term loosely, okay? But you're going to watch their broadcast, and you're going to see the cops. And now I'm not talking about the, what do you call it, the anchor at the desk. You're not going to see, you're not going to see them, maybe if they've been there for a while, maybe if they're involved in the CIA, but they're not the ones that are pushing this whole agenda. It goes higher up the food chain, right? The point is they allow a certain amount of it on TV to continue this divide. Oh, those damn cops! Look what they did again today. Those frigging cops. And then the cops are told that the general public hates them, it's a thankless job, and they're out there at a war with scum, and they're the thin blue line between total chaos and, civilized society like we have today. Oh, believe me, I've heard it myself, okay? I told you I was going to be a police officer, ladies and gentlemen, back in the day. I wanted to be a state trooper when I was younger. And I was in the United States Coast Guard, which many of you may not realize that not only is it a branch of the military, but they work right now under DHS. So they're like federal law enforcement. And that's, what we did. So believe me, I've heard a lot of the same crap, okay? And I have a lot of friends that are cops, the thin blue line. And I've also debated many of them and many, police officers over the years doing what I do. And I've heard it all, okay? We're the thin blue line and blah, 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 we're at a war with scum in this country. Well, the problem is, they have that train of thought, and then they're also told the public doesn't really appreciate what you do, and they always take things wrong, and they're mad at you, and most of the general public is probably doing something illegal anyway, and blah, 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 right? And then the other side of the coin is when the cops do something bad, then the general public sees it, and they get pissed off, rightfully so, by the way, okay? And then it just furthers this divide. And that suits the purposes of the powers that shouldn't be, the chess players themselves, because, again, they're just moving around these pieces, the pawns, maybe a couple knights, right, some rooks. But they're moving them around on the board, okay? These are the people, these are the police officers. They want, and everybody else, too. I'm going to get into the other part of the division in a second, but they want to keep us divided. They need to keep us divided. Okay, especially the police officers. They need to keep the police officers in the military thinking that they're in a special class, that they serve this group and that they will be rewarded for serving this group. Although history has always shown that is not the case. In fact, usually when said group is done with the police or the military, those left alive after whatever battle they've had to do usually get thrown into the meat grinder themselves. If you don't know what I'm talking about, as a perfect example, look up the Night of Long Knives. You'll see what I'm talking about. Look what they did to the brown shirts. They killed half of them after the brown shirts helped Hitler rise to power, including help rounding people up, right? After they rose to power and the Nazis came to power, the German army, because they weren't Nazis, the German army weren't, they were Nazis in the army, but the army at the time wasn't, a Nazi army. And they said, we'll fight for you, but get rid of those brown shirts. We don't trust them. That's what the generals basically told Hitler. And Hitler said, okay, no problem. So the guys that helped him get into power were immediately turned around and turned upon. And half of them they're killed, and the other half were thrown into the very camps that they themselves helped people get into, be placed into. So don't think that history will not repeat itself, okay? I've had Mark Passio on many a times before. He's coming on again soon again, too, by the way. But I've had him on plenty of times before. And when we talk about this, in fact, the subject usually comes up at least once during the conversation, that the military and police are looked at by the powers that shouldn't be as their dogs. They're referred to them by them as their dogs. Why do you think they give us dog tags in the military? Because we're the dogs of war. No, idiot. They give us dog tags because we're their dogs. Don't you get it? I know. When I first found out, too, I was quite pissed. But it made sense because of how they use us. You just look at things. So the powers that shouldn't be, they want to keep this divide because they need the general public to be mad at the police because that fuels the police's fear of the general public. Don't you get it? You're starting to see it now, aren't you? It's a game. It's a game. And the only way to stop their outcome from happening is to realize what's going on and to diffuse it. Okay? We need to reach out to police officers and to police departments and sheriff's departments. Now, as citizens ourselves, a lot of times they will ignore us, but that's where the power of law enforcement that are awake to what's going on comes in handy. People like Sheriff Richard Mack and others. And I don't always agree with everything that these people say, by the way. You know, and that goes for anybody, anyone, even my close friends like, you know, Chris or Joe. We don't always agree on things. That's the beauty of everybody. Different. I don't want to agree on every little subject, and sometimes maybe I'm wrong about something, or maybe I'm not wrong, but maybe there could be a different way to look at it, right? And maybe that other person's opinion can show you that. Maybe you can't see it for whatever reason, but maybe someone else can. And people tune into my radio show, right, to hear what I have to say, to maybe change, or not change, but offer a new opinion or a new way to look at something other than what they've been fed or told so far, right? Get the idea? They're trying to keep us divided, ladies and gentlemen. They being the powers that shouldn't be, the people that are playing this game of chess, the people that benefit from it. You don't benefit from this, and neither do the police officers. Cops, sheriffs, you guys don't benefit from fighting listen to me saying civilian again. You don't benefit from fighting the regular folk. You are the regular folk. We're your mothers, your fathers, your brothers, your sisters, your wives, your husbands, your kids, your cousins, your uncles, your aunts, your grandparents. We're you. We're your friends. You're us. You're not in a different class than us. You might be fed that line of bull, but it ain't true. You're in the same class that we are. We're all humans. See, that's part of this problem, is they've got everybody thinking that we're in different groups. Well, you're black. Ugh. Ugh, you're Latino. Ooh, you're white. You must automatically be racist and an enslaver and hate everybody. Ooh, you're a man. Ugh. Men are gross. Stupid women. Can't do anything right. Oh, you're an Asian? Oh, I suppose you think you're super smart and just know everything, right? I could go on, but I'm sure you all get the picture. We argue over the dumbest crap, and we divide ourselves over the dumbest crap now. It used to be harder, but now it's just, it's so easy. These countries at each other's throats. At each other's throats. The police brutality problem is part of that problem. It's not a separate away problem from that. No, it's directly connected to it, because it's part of this keeping us divided. Look, they don't want you to realize that it doesn't matter if the guy standing next to you is black, the guy standing on the other side of you is Latino, the person standing in front of you is homosexual, and the person standing behind you is Asian. And then you're surrounded by 50 women. It does not matter. We're all humans. Okay? We all operate the same on the inside. It doesn't matter how we look on the outside. Our hearts, they all beat the same way. They all pump blood the same way. Our lungs all operate the same way. Now, we all might be different on an individual basis as a person, but as a human, we are all the same. So why do we allow ourselves to be put into separate little boxes and not talk to those people? Because, oh my God, I don't talk to black people. They scare me. They're all thugs. Or Freaking white people, all racist. Preconceived notions. And you know what? Sometimes some of these ideas and these stereotypes that we slap on people, sometimes they do fit a certain individual because that individual allows themselves to fit that stereotype. But that's the individual falling into that stereotype. And I know it's a question of, some people say it's a question of the chicken or the egg, which came first, the racist moron or the stereotype of the racist moron. Racism was taught to us by the elites over the years. It goes back a very long time. It's to keep us fighting amongst each other so that they can retain their control of everything. Because if we're fighting amongst each other, we're not going to be paying attention to all the things they're doing. It's a very simple concept. Hey, look over here so you don't see what I'm doing over here. And not only do they get you to look over here, they get everybody to fist fight and argue and hate on each other. I don't like you because of this, or I don't like you because of that. People in this country find more reasons not to like each other and to hate on each other nowadays than they do like one another. But at the same time, we walk around acting all like we're holier than thou and that we're better. We're America. But we're being destroyed from within. This country's being taken apart brick by brick. And it's being done so in a manner that is highly intelligent, very, very, very well thought out. I know a lot of you people think that the powers that shouldn't be, that have this idea of a new world order, this agenda that they want to push, I know a lot of you think that they're stupid, but they're not. They may not be original with certain things. They may be predictable once you understand how they operate to a certain degree. But do not underestimate them. That is the biggest mistake you could possibly make in the world. They're not stupid, by any means. They know what they're doing. They understand that if you try to attack this country from outside, people would band together because they would understand that they had the common theme. Well, many people would. Not everybody. Some people would be cowards or traitors, but many people would band together because they would realize that they had a common theme, their own personal freedom. So it would be much harder to, and it wouldn't be impossible, I mean, depending on how many countries and how much military people you had, it could be done, perhaps, if you had a lot of countries involved, like China, Russia, and Iran, and others, okay? If we were like Nazi Germany and everybody ganged up on us, hint, 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 maybe we should stop acting like Nazi Germany did. But you can't destroy, you could, I don't want to say you can't and there's no possibility of it, but there's a very slim chance of destroying this country from the outside. But if you get the country to tear itself apart from the inside, well, that's much easier. Now, how do you do that? Well, you create division. You get the country to hate itself. And at the same time that you create division and you keep stirring these different divisions, you keep this strategy of tension up, which you see the news doing all the time. Fear, for fear, fear, for fear, 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 fear. So they have you on the fear frequency. They have you on that vibe. You're all amped up. And then they keep stirring all these little different stereotypes and all these different reasons to hate one another or to pick on each other or to divide ourselves from each other. Because when you realize this is the beauty of the thing. When you realize what they're doing, you realize that the divisions that we think exist, most of them, if not all of them, are in our heads. Once you see them and understand them, they go away. Of course, you have to be willing to let them go away, too. There are people that are just a-holes, okay? But once you see this, it's amazing how quickly those walls collapse and they break down, and they're no longer there. They're not as strong as you would have thought these walls that you would think, or that you've been taught and programmed your whole life, divide us, and they're different. Those people over there, they go to bed at 6 o'clock at night rather than 7 o'clock at night. Those strange bastards. Wow, they're crazy. I mean, we should be celebrating our differences. Doesn't anybody get that? Don't you all understand that? We should be celebrating the differences between you and me. Okay? That's what makes us individuals. Yes, we're all human beings. We all operate on the same basic fundamental principles. Yet, we all are individuals and are different. And that's what we should be focusing on. Not the difference that, oh my God, you're different than me and I should hate you, but wow, you are different than me. Let me get to know you. And get to know how interesting of an individual you are, because you're not the exact same as me, but yet you are the same as me. And you know what? We do like some of the same things. And oh wow, you are a nice person. You're not a dick. Or I don't think you're scary. Oh my God, you aren't Osama bin Laden like, the media says. DHS says my neighbor could be Al-Qaeda, but you're not. You're actually a nice guy. Wow. Wow, everybody in my block is actually nice. Wow, we're having a block party. Or a once a month barbecue get-together. Or something of the sort. Wow, community. Wow. See, that's what they don't want, ladies and gentlemen. They don't want community. And I'm not talking about communism, okay? I'm talking about you being friends with your neighbors, getting along with your neighbors, having that bond that if something is wrong and your neighbor needs a hand, you're there. If you need a hand, your neighbor's there, okay? A good, strong bond with your neighbor. Almost like a family atmosphere. That's the other thing they're going after. The family. Because that's another thing. It brings people together. It brings people together. Makes them care about one another. See, they can't have that. They need everybody separated and feeling alone, so that way they can keep you in fear, and then they can keep stirring your emotions and keep stirring your stereotypes in your head to keep you divided from everybody else, and then they've got you. They've got you isolated, they've got you right where they want you, and they manipulate you like a marionette puppet. The way to stop this is to see through it, ladies and gentlemen. We have to understand the game being played. Put on your Hoffman sunglasses and take a look around. And just like Neo in the end of The Matrix, you'll see things as they really are. Don't allow yourself to be divided from everybody else around you and separated from everybody else around you. That's what they want. Let's not fall into their trap, okay? Hour 1 up, hour 2 coming up. Do not go anywhere. Another full hour. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye, from FederalJack.com. It is Tuesday, February 25th, 2014. And hanging out with me in the background, if you guys can't hear her, is my little 8-pound sidekick herself, Monster, snoring away behind me. Yes, Munchkin, you are making a ton of noise like a little mini chainsaw back there, but that's okay. She's always riding shotgun, as you guys know. Hour 2, I want to stay on the same topic, and it's going to lead me into my analysis of the alternative media, which may piss off some of my fellow peers. I'm not going to attack actually anybody in particular, but I'm sure somebody's going to get offended at what I say, because that's what happens in this whole thing. People get butthurt when other people have opinions. Anyway, I'll get into that. But staying on this this tone of being divided, and this country being divided, they need to keep us in this state of division. They need to keep us fighting amongst each other, okay? And I could repeat this until the cows come home, but I'm not going to beat a dead horse into the ground. I think you all got the point. Okay? I want to explain another way that they have us divided. Even people in this so-called, I'm going to say it, and I hate it, the truth movement. I got nauseous saying it. Okay? But it's even a way that they get people divided in this thing that whatever it is that we do. That's the way I describe it, because I can't stand calling it a movement. I think you all know that by now. I've been ripping on this for years, at least that part of it anyway. So, what am I talking about? What way do they keep us divided? Well, they have us programmed so that way when we hear something that may be contrary to what we believe, even if it's two people in this research community, we'll call it, having a debate or a conversation about said whatever subject, not even, anything, police brutality, 9/11, whatever. They will yell at each other. We have been programmed via our parents, because they've been programmed by some of the same mechanisms we have been. Television. Even our politicians. There is no debate anymore. We can't have an intelligent conversation in this country. I've sat down with some very, very intelligent people. People I really respect. I highly respect these individuals. And yet, when it comes to a conversation about certain things, open-minded, or not even open-minded, just free and open debate gets shut down. Not even being open-minded to the point where I'm asking you to believe what I'm saying, but at least allow me to present it. No, can't even do that. We yell and scream at each other in this country. We're known for that. You know that? We're known for that. Why don't you ask Tempest or Kev Baker? And I know they do it in other countries too. But we're getting known for this. And it's not just us, by the way. I mean, we take it to an extreme. But even the rest of the world, again, go ask those two guys how it is in their countries. They'll tell you it's the same way. Although, as I've said, we've taken it to a whole new level here in this country. I mean, an outsider can see that America is definitely a house divided against itself. And what's the old saying about a house divided against itself? It will not stand. They knew that 230 some odd years ago. So don't you think if the founding fathers realized that the Illuminati, the powers that shouldn't be, whatever you want to call them, these scumbags, okay, they know it as well. They get it. They understand the simple formula. We can't have an intelligent conversation in this country anymore without some person in that conversation yelling, screaming, throwing ad hominem attacks. Why do you think I talk about logical fallacies and I've done shows about them? I just did one a couple months back. It's in the archives. Go listen to it. You know why I talk about that stuff and I go into it? I don't get paid to come on air and talk about that stuff. You know why I do it? I am so tired of the non-intelligent conversation out there. I mean, yes, I'm trying to change things, but I mean, I'm just tired in general of the non-intelligent conversations out there. Look, I'm a smart man. I like to engage people in conversation and talk to them. Okay? I get that some people might not understand certain things, but you can't even engage people in conversation anymore. They either blow you off or they want to fist fight you. And I could understand if maybe it was, somebody with a very low IQ and they couldn't comprehend what I was saying, but I get in arguments with people with IQs of like 165 or 170. Like, hello, you shouldn't. Again, the IQ level and their level of intelligence doesn't dictate their behavior, but they should at least, you would think that someone that intelligent would be able to think outside the box. A lot of times it's egos that get in the way. It's a lot of different factors. But it's the basic programming of, if you don't agree with what I say, and a lot of that, I don't want to say it's human nature, but a lot of that is, it's almost a, what do you call it? Not like a natural reflex, but a mechanism inside of ourselves, I'll say, that does somewhat naturally occur, but it's been manipulated and tweaked, okay, by these people that understand how your brain works, my brain works, and how all of our brains work. Okay, they understand us better than you think they do. They also think in terms of 50 years ahead. Everybody seems to think they think in like 5-year increments. No. They think in like 50-year increments, and then it breaks down into, well, you know, here, 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 and here. But it's really like 50-year increments. That's how come a lot of people don't understand the fuller picture of things. And, well, okay, I could see that they're spraying chemtrails, but I can't understand why they would do that. You have to understand the bigger picture. Anyway, that's just an example. So they have us divided, okay? They have it to the point where we can't even have a logical conversation with anybody. Again, that's why I talk about logical fallacies. That's why I urge you all to go educate yourself about this stuff. I'm not telling you to become a PhD in any of these topics. I mean, if you can, if that's the level you want to go, tear it up. What I'm telling you is to get a basic understanding of this stuff. I mean, I encourage you. I don't want to say I want. What I want really doesn't matter. I encourage you to go and do as much research on these topics as you possibly can, but at least learn the basics. At least. Because you know what? You're going to encounter these very same people that I encounter. We all do. And what's going to happen is, sometimes by you taking people on like this and just debating them, well, sometimes they get mad and they walk away. Other times they might realize down the road a little bit that they were wrong and maybe, look at themselves. But at the very least, if you're out in public and there's more than just you and that person talking, or if you're in a group of people and you're trying to debate this person and they start throwing things at you, you can tell them, look, I'm not going to get dragged into your straw man argument. You're throwing ad hominem attacks at me, left and right, and I'm not playing this game. Either you debate me with fact, or don't bother even trying to debate me. It means you don't have a valid argument. See, understanding that fact that a logical fallacy-filled argument means the person doesn't really have a valid argument to debate you with, that's a powerful thing. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. You're in a conversation with a family member, and that family member is debating you, and you bring up a comment, or you say something about the 9/11 hijackers being controlled, right? Being manipulated. They were allowed, how do these guys get visas, we'll say. Well, that had to be allowed by the government, blah, blah, blah. And this person starts to attack you and call you all sorts of, well, what are you, some sort of tinfoil hat nutbag? I suppose Bigfoot was flying the plane. Well, you respond to that person with, look, first of all, there's no reason to attack me. Second of all, if you're going to try to debate me, bring facts, like actual facts, because I have facts to back up what I said. You're attacking me with no valid argument. You can't refute what I said. Like, I could say, well, there was a guy that used to work for the State Department, and he said that while he was in there, he saw a lot of these terrorists that, 9/11, and other people, he saw them, their passports coming through this office, and in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and he was told to just, stamp them, even though he said that these people shouldn't have gotten visas, but they did. So there's proof. This guy has come out. He used to work for the State Department. He had to leave the State Department in order to come out. He had to wait till he was out of there. But as soon as he left the State Department, he came out and spoke about it. So there's some proof. Okay? What would the person come back with then? Right? If it was an intelligent debate, they might say, well, I don't know, but I haven't seen this evidence, or blah, blah, or whatever. They might come back with some sort of way to try to refute what he said. Maybe even a character assassination against that person, which I guess in itself is kind of a logical fallacy. But they usually come back with, oh, you're a tinfoil hat conspiracy nutbag, I suppose. Like I said, I suppose Bigfoot was flying the plane. Right? So then, again, you say to them, well, you're not coming to me with fact. You're not coming back at me with fact. you're coming at me from this level of ignorance, and you're attacking me. One has to wonder, why would you get so emotional about this? You don't want to hear the truth. Look, people don't a lot of times want to hear the truth. Okay, they don't like it. There is a large contingent of society that would rather not hear the truth. They'd rather be comfortable and hear BS. Not me. Anyway, this has been, and yes, I know that this goes back a long time, difference of opinion and all that, but it's being manipulated. It's like watching a master violinist play. They are tugging our strings and playing us like instruments against each other. And it's on so many levels. And when you try to explain this to people again, you get in arguments because they want to attack you. And that right there is a sign that, look, you can't even have a conversation with someone anymore. You can't even get into it with somebody. You get into it, but not the way you'd want, right? You don't get a chance to get into it and actually have a fact-filled conversation. And, 9 times out of 10, I find that when people just sit and listen to what I have to say, even if you don't like what I have to say, I've had a lot of people that try to debate me or whatnot, and they don't, I've had people tell me, look, you know what, I'll debate you until the cows come home because I don't want to believe that my government would do that. Now, therein lies the problem. What you want to believe and what is reality are two different things. So it doesn't matter if you don't like the thought of the government doing that, because that's one of the biggest problems with people accepting this stuff, is that they don't like the idea that the government would do that. A lot of people don't think that the government would do that, but many people are uncomfortable accepting the idea that their government would do that. And they say, well, I don't believe that my government would do that, or I choose not to believe that my government would do that. Just read a history book, morons, that's not funded by the Rockefeller family, and you would see that our government does it all the time. It's fear. Again, a lot of that fear has to do with the programming and the way they were brought up. Those people are afraid to govern themselves. Those people are probably afraid to tie their own shoes without having somebody around to wipe their rear end. They keep us divided in this country on so many levels. I sit back and I watch, even just going out to the store. I sit back walking down the aisle and not even judging the way people look at me. You all know I'm covered in tattoos. I have my hands tattooed, my arms, my chest, some of my legs, my back, a little bit of my back. My hands are covered. So, when I'm in public, unless I wore gloves and a bodysuit, like a full-on onesie, you'd have with gloves attached to it, you'd see I have tattoos. You should see the looks I get. People think I'm a monster. I've told you all before, one of the reasons I don't do video is because of this fact. Because I don't want people to judge me based on what I look like. I'd rather people judge me based on my intellect. So rather than, and yeah, people could go, well, give them the opportunity. No, and maybe in the future. But the point is, that's why I don't do video, okay? Because you're forced to judge me based on what I have to say and my intellect, rather than what I look like, which unfortunately people still do. They judge. I see it when they look at me, but when my people watch, I see them looking at each other, and it's amazing how people the micro expressions that people have that they don't even realize that we all do. You unconsciously do them, and when something happens or to certain situations or whatever. We're judging everybody around us. Another part of the reason that we judge everybody is because there's things that we don't like about ourselves. And what happens is a lot of times when we see something that reminds us of something we don't like about ourselves in another person, we attack that trait in that individual. When in reality, we're not really mad at that person. We're mad at that trait in ourselves, and we don't like it. So we take it out on the innocent people. It's called projection. We don't want to look into ourselves. We don't want to look into ourselves and face our own demons. Uncomfortable talk, I know. But it's the truth. And this isn't new agey crap either. This is the truth. People, everybody has something about themselves they don't like. Everybody has a demon, quote unquote, that they wrestle with inside of themselves. And rather than deal with that and face the ugly truth of what they don't like about themselves, because you can fix it, we've been programmed to do the opposite. And a lot of it is, I shouldn't blame it all on the programming, a lot of it is the way the false ego and the reptilian brain and all that work in conjunction. Go watch the movie Kymatica if you want to get a further in-depth idea of what I'm talking about. But we don't like what we see about, we don't like a certain thing about ourselves. We see that in somebody else. We don't like that. It reminds us of what we don't like about ourselves, and we attack them. Okay? I've done it. Difference is, I stopped when I realized that I was doing it, because I needed to make a conscious decision to not do that. I needed to say no. I needed to, what? Choose. I needed to choose. I needed to make a decision as to what I was going to do. Will I change for the better, or will I not change for the better? Will I still do this, or will I not? Once I realized what I was doing, I made the decision to stop. But look, I speak from a place of experience because I have done it before. And once in a while, I still catch myself doing it. You'll never be perfect, by the way. Whenever I give you advice on air, by the way, just so people know, I have to sidetrack myself for a second. Whenever I give you advice and I say something to you, first of all, I am going through the same thing in some aspect of my life, or I have gone through it. And if I say something to you like, once I realized that, I was projecting onto people, I stopped it. Don't mistake that for me saying, I'm perfect now. I no longer make that mistake. That would be wrong, and that would be lying. That would be me outright lying to you all if I said that to you. That's what that would be. Look, I still make mistakes. The very things that I talk to you all about on air and I give you guys advice about, and I say at least, or I give you my analysis of, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, don't ever mistake that what I tell you is me preaching to you from a soapbox, and that I don't follow through with what I say and what I talk about, because I do. Okay, I'm just like this off air. You can ask anybody that knows me. Tempest has talked to me off air. He knows. Kev, Joe, Chris, everybody. They all know. Okay? I've been through all the same stuff that I've talked to you about. So don't ever think that I'm coming to you from a place of I'm standing up on high and trying to tell you, oh, that's not the way it is. At all, by any means. And I still make some of the same mistakes that I try to, give you guys advice about or whatnot. I'm human like all of you. It's one of the reasons I tell you not to put people up on pedestals. Don't put me up on a pedestal. I mean, I'm flattered that you all tune into my radio show, but I don't want you thinking I'm Superman. I don't fly around with a cape. I don't shoot laser beams out of my eyes. It'd be cool if I could bend steel with my bare hands, but I can't. I'm not Superman. I'm a human, just like you all. That's one of the problems we have in this country, or in the world. the way we are now as humans, we've been taught to always look to somebody to solve our problems. And what happens is, we always look to another human being because obviously that's, what else is going to, who else is going to save us, right? So we look to other human beings to save us, or whatever, another figure. And that's how you have people like politicians, or whatever. And then you'll have somebody like in this research community, you'll have somebody that people idolize. They think that he's an idol and he does something that maybe pisses somebody off. It doesn't matter who it is, he or she. That person will do something that'll piss somebody off somewhere. And suddenly this person will have this anger against them and they'll attack them and they'll hate on them. And, oh, this person's like, rah! Even, I mean, in some cases, some people are shady, but in other cases, it's just, it's not really warranted, the attack on them. But that attack comes from people putting these individuals up on a pedestal and then holding them to this standard of they're perfect and they never make a mistake. And then because they're humans, they make a mistake. And then people get all angry because they become emotionally invested in it. Charlie Veitch was a good example. I mean, people were really angry over that. Whether or not anybody really gave him death threats, I don't know, because I didn't see them myself, and I know he played that angle up, but I mean, he could have said that just to make everybody that was pissed at him look bad. But I did see people saying some pretty nasty things to him. So, I mean, it is a possibility. But that was driven because people emotionally invested themselves in Charlie. Now, whether or not he was a shill or a CIA agent, or I guess he wouldn't be CIA, it'd probably be MI6 or whatever, or MI5, whichever one. I think MI6 is the international one, and I think MI5 is the one that's inside, if I remember correctly. But anyway, whatever the hell the different theories were, I mean, maybe he was from the get-go. Okay, could be. That's not the point. The point is people got emotionally invested in him, and they looked at him to be their savior. It's the same problem we have with voting and looking to some president or prime minister to fix everything, or some D-bag politician to fix everything. Why do you think I tell you the solutions to our problems are an inside job? I'm telling you to look to yourself for the answer. Stop looking to this figure that has a cape, no matter if it's a suit, politician, banker, your neighborhood watch guy, your parents, your friends, your family. I mean, yes, you should be able to depend on them if you needed them in an emergency situation, but take care of your own things, Again, the solutions to our problems are an inside job. Do not look to some outside figure to come up and save you from everything. That is a problem. And I see it a lot. No matter if the people are awake or not, again, they look to, this research community, whatever you want to call it. People look to other people, and they look at them like they put them up on this pedestal, and again, they get mad when they do something human. Stop looking to these people like they're gods or superpowers or whatever, superhuman beings. Seriously. I know we joke around here and we say, oh, it's like the Justice League. We have all these different researchers and show hosts and stuff and, that have come together, and it's like, powerhouse of truth. But we really don't think we fly around with capes on, ladies and gentlemen. I think we understand that we really don't. And that's why I tell you all, again, the solutions to our problems are an inside job. Only you can actually come up with a solution that makes any sense to your problems. I can't. I'm not in your head. I'm not in your life. You are. And it works on a larger scale, too. We'll be right back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment, tonight's live edition, DTRH. So, I covered how we're being divided. I've gone into a few different aspects of that. Now, I want to focus on my critique of the alternative media, what it's becoming, what I see. And it butts up against what I was talking about for the past hour and a half with, being divided and everything. And again, to my, fellow hosts, researchers out there, my peers in the research community, don't take this as an attack on any one individual, because it's not. This is what I see as a whole. And we can fix it, but we need to address the problems. Again, no problem can be fixed until it's admitted that there is a problem and the problem itself can be addressed. Anyway, what's my analysis of this whole thing? Well, for one, I want you to look up a term called cognitive infiltration. There's a book written by David Ray Griffin about it. And the book dissects an essay which was authored by a man named Cass Sunstein. Some of you might be familiar with him. Obama administration lackey. Sunstein wrote an article, well, not an article, a paper back in 2008 about conspiracy theories. And I urge you to go read it, but for time purposes, he basically said, in a nutshell, I mean, I suggest you go again read it because it's interesting their take on things, the powers that shouldn't be, and what they have to say. And of course, anybody with half a brain will look at that and scream and say, no, no, no. David Ray Griffin's book really does a good job of breaking it down and explaining things on an intellectual level that even the layman can understand, though. But Sunstein wrote this paper, or co-wrote it, and he talks about infiltrating the 9/11 truth movement in particular. And literally having government agents infiltrate these different, truth groups and take them apart from within. A house divided. A microcosm of the country. Micro, macro. Law of correspondence. As above, so below. So, Sunstein authors this paper, and it talks about infiltrating 9/11 truth and said movements, such as, again, 9/11 truth, perhaps, maybe, at this point, anything, right? Even Occupy Wall Street, even if it's a quote-unquote lefty group. I don't buy into that anyway. So, it talks about literally infiltration and destruction of these groups. Now, where do you see 9/11 truth today? Where do you see it? It was written back in 2008, it's 2013, 5 years later. Where do you see this 9/11 truth, quote-unquote, movement? Where is it? It's been derailed, sidetracked, and put into the gutter, like a gutter ball. Not the gutter of a street, but like the gutter on a bowling alley. We were headed right for that strike. We were doing strike after strike after strike. It was starting to make headway. And then boom, gutter ball, gutter ball, gutter ball. What's up? What's going on? A lot of infighting. A lot of people in the 9/11 truth movement, hate that word, can't seem to get along. Yelling at each other. Again, not debate. Yelling, attacking, threatening in some cases. Some people, well, they're followers. Case in point, if you're on the side of architects and engineers, and it's sad that we have to say if you're on the side, because it should be we have one big table and all the evidence gets put out on it, and then we go through all the evidence following scientific method and let the facts lead us where they may, not I like this, I'm comfortable with this theory, so that's the theory I'm going to go with. See, that's a big problem, okay? But let's say you're on the side of architects and engineers for 9/11 truth. And then somebody comes into the conference and says, well, you guys are all lying sacks of crap. Or someone comments on a video, will say, you guys are all lying sacks of crap. Dr. Judy Wood has it laid out in her book, and you guys are all just shills, and she knows that, everybody's against her, and blah, 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 blah. Now, I'm not bashing either side. But, okay, how can you logically take either side and say that, yes, it's definitely this one. Now, I mean, and if there's enough facts to prove it and back it up, if that's where the facts are pointing you, then fine. But how can you attack somebody else? You're supposed to be scientists, some of you. I'm not talking about the architects and engineers. I'm talking about people that follow Dr. Judy Wood. Some of you are just complete off the wall, and some of you are supposedly scientists or whatnot, but you attack other people. Okay? I've seen people that support the architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth attack other people very emotionally if they don't support their theory. And I've seen, and not just those two, I'm just using them as examples. Everybody in this whole thing attacks everybody else. Why? Why is everybody arguing? See, I don't consider myself to be only part of the 9/11 Truth movement. I'm not a truther. I'm a researcher and a broadcaster, and I cover all of it, including 9/11. Okay, so I'm not going to just pigeonhole myself to that. But as an outsider looking, well, not an outsider, but as a fellow researcher, but looking at this group of individuals that wants to solely focus on that event. I mean, everybody's just yelling at each other and hating on each other. It's just ridiculous. The amount of emotion going back and forth. We're all on the same team. Don't you get it, guys and gals? Unless, of course, some of you really are shills and paid operatives, COINTELPRO style, like they did to the civil rights movement. And here you have Cass Sunstein, again, cognitive infiltration, talking about bringing people in and tearing apart a movement. So, yes, I do believe that some of the followers of every party, not just one in particular, I believe every group out there in this so-called 9/11 Truth movement, I think at least one or two people in their group is an agent, or an agent provocateur, you could call them. And when you see this outlandish crap coming about, a lot of times when you see it's the same people in these groups that get the fire stoked amongst the other people in that group. Okay, it's always the same provocateur. Sometimes maybe they'll have a little buddy in there with them, but it is happening. 9/11 Truth is a perfect example of what's going on. Okay? It's a perfect example of cognitive infiltration. A lot of people thought it was just an essay, and then when the attention got brought to it because it came out that, oh my God, they're going to stop because we shed a light on it. Right, they just stopped talking about it, and you thought it went away. But then 5 years later, 9/11 Truth is... It's just a bunch of infighting. And I'm going to tell you what, if I was an outsider, if I wasn't a researcher, if I didn't understand the bigger picture, okay, if I didn't understand what was going on, if I was an outsider that maybe a week ago thought that the government was dandy and would never do anything wrong, and for some whatever reason I decided to start researching this stuff because maybe I don't trust them as much as I did last week or a month ago, and I start looking into this stuff, and I come across, one theory of, they used some sort of new technology that we don't really know about, some, maybe, in conjunction with HARP or something like that, like Judy Wood talks about, or they used, a couple different types of explosives like the architects and engineers talk about. If I come across... Like, say I came across architects and engineers information, and then in one of their videos I see all these people from another group, maybe, whoever, maybe it was, I don't even want to use one of their labels because that just plays into the game, but we'll just say another group attacks them, in the comments. Oh, you're wrong, it was this, you're all working for the government, you're all blah, blah, blah. As an outsider, I'm going to see all this infighting, I'm going to be like, wow, these people are nuts. And they're exactly what the mainstream media and the government says they are. They are nuts. You know what? The government must be right. This stuff is insane. I was insane for ever thinking about it and ever looking into this. I'm never going to look into this again. Well done. You drove away somebody that was trying to look into it because of your petty differences. Okay. And think about it. Who's been fomenting the anger about those differences in these groups? Why don't you all start to take a look at yourselves? Seriously. Okay? If you haven't read David Ray Griffin's book, Cognitive Infiltration, I suggest you go order it off of Amazon and read it. It's important. Okay, apparently they've done a good job at infiltrating because they've got everybody fighting amongst themselves. Okay, and it's not just in the 9/11 truth movement, it's this whole damn thing. Everybody, even in this is what I was alluding to before, even in this, truth movement, I can't stand that. Okay, it's not a movement. It's just the enlightenment of humanity. Get it right. This isn't some fad that goes away. Something that can be stopped. It's called enlightenment. Start realizing what it is. It's not a movement. It's not a fad. This isn't the 60s. This isn't the counterculture movement, which, by the way, was created by the CIA. Anyway, people are fighting amongst themselves to the point where, you can't even have researchers get along and come on each other's broadcasts anymore, because if they do, a researcher will go on a host's show, and now the hosts are starting in the alternative media are starting to resort to shock jock style tactics, ambushing people on their radio shows. What the hell is wrong with you people? Seriously. What in the F is wrong with you people? I don't care if this pisses some of you off. Go ahead and attack me on your dumbass radio shows. Tear it up. You and your 3 listeners, okay? Because nobody with any intellectual power at all of any sort, and you could have enough brain power to not even make toast and you wouldn't want to listen to that crap. We're in some dire times right now. And that's the kind of crap people put out, arguing, attacking each other, ambushing, other researchers, yelling at each other, going on air for 2 hours, pissing and moaning about someone else's theory. Why don't you do the research and come up with your own? We've been infiltrated. Whether you want to admit it or not, we've been infiltrated. And we need to address the problem. Because the alternative, quote-unquote alternative media, has pretty much become the go-to, I don't want to say mainstream, because mainstream is still commercial, corporate garbage, but we've become the go-to. We're no really longer the country's alternative place to go. We're the first place they go. The alternative is the corporate crap. And they don't want that. They want the truth, the people. Some people still go to MSNBC. Maybe 100,000 listeners or 200,000. Piers Morgan lost his show. CNN's like, yeah, you have no ratings. You suck. No one wants to listen to you because you're a loudmouth windbag. Your own people don't even want you back. And the Americans are getting sick of you, Piers. People aren't watching that garbage anymore because they don't want to hear it. So they're going to all these different outlets now, these new outlets, and they're going to see people infighting, and it's just going to drive them back to CNN and Fox and the rest of that garbage over there. And that's done on purpose. Hello? We need to pay attention to this. You need to stop infighting. Now, don't get me wrong. If you find somebody that actually is a dirtbag or working for the powers that shouldn't be, then by all means expose said individual. But do it don't do it unless you actually have info. Don't come up with some outlandish dumbass theory that you actually have no real proof to back up. It's just you coming out of your rear end with your friends, in a Skype chat. Do some research. If you're going to really out somebody, then make sure they're really a bad individual. The problem is people like to out each other, but they're not really outing anybody. I've had people attack me and be, Popeye's funded by the Republican Party, so is federaljack.com. Really? Well, I still haven't gotten my check yet, just so you know. This is stupid. It's absolutely stupid. Accusations made by people that have never even met other individuals or talked to them in a conversation on Skype or on the phone ever. Maybe heard a 2-minute clip of them talking about something, and instantaneously the person's a shill, and oh my God, they're evil and they're controlled by the CIA. Stop it. Stop it. Because you make the rest of us look like idiots. You know why? Because there really are people that are controlled, opposition. And there really are people that are in this for nefarious reasons and for the wrong reasons and out there to, to stop this information from spreading and to stop people from looking into this. There really are. Look, again, cognitive infiltration. But when you cry wolf every time over every little situation or every little thing, okay, nobody's going to believe it anymore. It's just like when Sandy Hook happened, right? And I said, look, everybody needs to calm down because they're passing around a lot of information that's not true. And it turned out a lot of the stuff that they were passing around was shinfo. People were posting pictures and stuff or videos or this or that or making claims and comments which weren't true. Personally, I think the powers that shouldn't be put a lot of that disinfo out there on purpose as almost like a field test to see if, the level of manipulation that they could attain with the alternative media. I don't think that's what Sandy Hook was for, but I think that's one of the outcomes of the event with the media coverage and the way it was handled with the alternative media. I really think that there was a large effort by the powers that shouldn't be to put a lot of disinfo out there. Go back and listen to my shows from the night Sandy Hook, the day it happened, right? The day the event supposedly happened, took place, and the shows I did after that about it. Go listen. You'll hear me reiterate that, okay? I really, really think that they tested the alternative media during that event because people were just blindly posting stuff, and I still see people doing it. Somebody will post something that's not true. They'll post a story from the Daily Quran. I went off on this a couple weeks ago. There was a couple articles going around that people were posting stories from the Daily Quran, which were just not true. But for days I saw people commenting on these articles as if they were real and as if they were fact. And they were getting pissed off and emotional over it. There's a video from The Onion that makes its rounds every once in a while. It's an old satirical video, probably about 5 or 6 years old now at least, of a guy talking about martial law and stuff, and he's supposedly on the House floor, and every other he goes to every third word that he says he's like, and classified, blah 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 blah, and classified, and everything he keeps saying is classified, but it's from The Onion, and yet I see people still posting it to this day. Can you believe this? Look at the balls on the government, and they're getting all angry, and I'm like, dude, that's a clip from The Onion. And rather than look at it and say, oh, man, you're right, I made a mistake, and then keeping that in your head, or actually an error, if you think about it, because like Kennedy said, an error only becomes a mistake when you refuse to correct it. So if the person says something in error, they can, oh, you know what, I shouldn't have said that, but they don't. They'll fight with you. Oh, no. No. They'll literally get angry at you and get mad and fight you. I've had arguments with really intelligent people over things and over this situation. I mean, we have to stop it. If we want to be taken seriously, we have to stop following blindly what these people put out for us on fish hooks. One of the reasons I was doing this myself, and I talked probably about a year ago now, even more, I said, I'm going to end up doing damage to my own web rep by doing this, but I'm not going to just post 5 or 10 new articles a day on my site, sourcing a lot of this stuff from some of these mainstream outlets, because, yes, if it's an important article that needs to be archived, I do, but I cut back. At one point, my U.S. rank used to be 45,000 in the U.S., around 45, 46,000 in the U.S. on Alexa. That's pretty high, especially for a site that's run by one guy. It's not at that level anymore, okay? It's still decent, but it's nowhere near to where it used to be. And part of that reason is because I took myself out of that cycle because I realized that I was becoming part of the problem too. Because where do most of these alternative news websites, a lot of people, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great blogs and people out there that write their own stuff, but even those guys, a lot of times, just to fill up some extra space, or I do it myself, I repost stuff from different news agencies from time to time if I think it's really important, but I don't do it at the level I was, because I realized that for a period of time, I was reacting almost to what the mainstream media put out, and that's what the alternative media is still doing to this very day. we're reacting as a whole, largely in part to what the mainstream media puts out there. Now, I understand that a lot of us, the basis of this stemmed, from them putting out garbage, and we have to refute their crap. I still take on, these different newscasters and tear apart their lies to this day. But that became so much of our focus that I see a lot of people just churning out revamped versions of mainstream media stories. It might be their critique on it, but it's still this mainstream information that's being put out there. And there is a lot of good investigative journalism being done. Don't get me wrong, it's not all bad. I mean, the alternative media, just as much, mistakes that I see. I see even more good. So don't take this as I hate everybody in this. It's not that at all. I think everybody out there, everybody's human, so we're going to make mistakes. But I mean, even with our mistakes, I think everybody out there that's doing their thing, no matter who you are, what you're talking about, if you're speaking real truth, not some idiocy, disinfo, or some garbage, but if you're actually speaking truth and you're doing it for the right reasons, then you guys are awesome. And I really, I salute all of you. You all of you men and women out there are just awesome. Thank you for what you do. Don't take it as an attack on you. But I do have to, offer my analysis and my critique. Look, it's not something that I myself wouldn't hold myself to. Hence, I was willing to take a hit to my web rep, which is, how busy your site is, how much traffic your site generates. I was willing to take a hit in traffic in order not to be part of that system, and in order to pump out better quality product. And I still bring in the hits and stuff to my website, but I don't bring it in like as I don't bring it in on the level I was, because I'm not following that same trend. And because I'm not a trendy person to begin with, but I saw what I was doing, and I realized that it wasn't just me. Obviously, it's all of the alternative media. And I had this discussion with a few other webmasters that I know and I respect, and a couple of them did the same thing. Some of them didn't want to. They need the hits. They have they have whatever reason they want the people to come to the site. That's fine. I'm not bashing anybody either, but we can't expect to be an alternative to the garbage that's out there if all we're doing is reacting to the garbage that they're putting out. We're not really being an alternative. We're just more of a filter for their crap. And don't get me wrong, that filter is a much needed thing, but we also need more independent researchers, people that go out and write these articles. And let me tell you what, again, there are a lot of good researchers and independent authors and just bloggers, vloggers, other radio show hosts, filmmakers. There's a lot of people that you should be really getting exposed to, not just these people critiquing what the mainstream says, but more so listening to what these people have to say, because there's a lot of people out there that they're going to tell you things you've never heard before, ladies and gentlemen. And that's the kind of stuff that I think that the alternative research community should be focusing on. Again, I'm not going to say it's crap and I hate everybody and blah, 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 blah. No. I mean, I could do a whole show critiquing it, but that's not the point. The point isn't to bash it. The point was to bring up what I see about some of the problems I see, some of our weaknesses, so we can address them and overcome them, adapt and overcome. Okay, because if we don't, they will be the link in the chain. They will be our Achilles heel. We have to look past our differences. We have to be able to debate one another civilly, okay, with intellectual conversation and not yelling and screaming and hatred and vitriolic fervor. We need to sit back and relax a bit and just chill out and have a simple conversation without any hatred, without any anger, okay? And again, I will tell you a bazillion times over, we have to stop looking to other people to solve our problems. We need to start looking to ourselves. Stop looking for people to be wearing a cape, and stop looking to these people with the said cape on to solve all of our problems and be that end-all, be-all solution to everything. And there's never an end-all, be-all solution for everything. There's not an umbrella policy that'll fit everything either. We should look at each individual thing. But again, we as ourselves are the ones who will come up with the solutions that will actually work. Not some politician, not somebody in a leotard with a cape on, and certainly don't look to radio show hosts like myself or anybody else to be wearing a leotard or a cape. If anything, you're the one wearing the leotard and the cape with the big S on the front of your chest, okay? You are Superman, you are Batman, you are Spider-Man, you are whatever superhero you want. Remember, you are the solution to the problem, ladies and gentlemen. You are. I love every single one of you, and I'll see you all again tomorrow night. I'm out of here.